Hello my lovely Red Mare crew. We have got another really beautiful day. So I thought I would just hang with the horses and show you the lovely Scottish light and the sweetness and talk to you about something which a very kind viewer has asked about. A few videos ago, I talked about... Okay, hold on Flo. I've had to tie the dogs up. Darwin's a bit frightened of horses. Yeah, so he shows it by doing that. That's his fear response. But look, she dealt with that very well. Well done, Flo. Good desensitising, Darwin. We don't really do desensitising, but that is useful because he will get her used to different kinds of dogs. And there's little Clovey, look. And there's the red mare. Yeah, we're all chilling, aren't we? We're all chilling. Yes, a very kind viewer asked about, hello Doodle, asked about, brave boys, asked about something I talked about, which was resetting my emotional self. And I think this is an incredibly important thing to do, both for yourself and for your horse. The most basic idea is that you don't bring a whole load of unprocessed emotions down to the field. What I mean by unprocessed emotions, it's when somebody's made you sad or angry or frustrated or resentful, particularly those, those negative emotions, and you haven't processed through them. So you haven't said, I feel incredibly angry because that person held absolutely no regard for my feelings. You've just got the sort of undifferentiated rage and you want to poke the person with sticks. And I find for the processing, you need to go back and work out, why is someone ignoring your emotions so particularly painful? It's often to do with childhood. It is actually to do with a universal human need to be seen and heard and acknowledged. But lots of us can shrug that kind of stuff off if we're in a, if we're in a really good place ourselves, if we're feeling quite well balanced and resilient and happy. And if we're feeling vulnerable, then it can go back to that awful moment in childhood where nobody paid any attention to you and did things like, well, I mean, they can be really painful things. I'm not going to go into details. But you know exactly what I mean. And then you're back in that awful state of invisibility and powerlessness. And that's why you're so upset with this person now. And you need to process that. And I'll do that in a ton of different ways. Thank you, Flo. I'll bring up my friend Kathy in Wales. If you've got a really good friend, I find women are particularly good at this. Not all of my boys necessarily want to do a whole load of emotion stuff. I can ring up and say, can you process an emotion? And if she's not busy with her work, she will. So I just work it through with her. I just get it out, we talk about it. She'll pick up on anything which I am hiding away. And, sorry, the dogs are making me laugh. The other way I process it is I will do physical things. I'll get it out of my body, particularly if it's rage. I'll do a lot of stomping and dancing and pogo dancing and whooping around the kitchen like a banshee. That's really helpful. I'll come down here and stomp around with the horses. If I need to get it out physically, we'll go for a run and a buck and a kick and a fart. I will write it down because I find if I can get to the bottom of emotions, what are they really about, then I can let them go. So I use writing a lot. I actually work with people to use writing to help them with what I think of as non-helpful emotions. And it's not that the emotions are good or bad, but there are some which are non-helpful. So for instance, a whole lot of frustration and resentment are non-helpful, because when you come down to your horse, they're going to feel that frustration and resentment like it's a storm brewing if you haven't processed it, and that's going to make them unsettled. So that's not helping you, whatever it is that you got, oh look at her, that you got frustrated or resentful about. The feelings aren't fixing that, they're just transmitting themselves to your horse, which will translate itself into a bad ride, which will make you even crosser and sadder, and then we're in the terrible negative emotion feedback loop. And as always, I feel that I'm not explaining this hugely well, but the basic principle is work out ways of resetting your emotions. If you've got emotions which are not helping you, emotions which are putting you into the sympathetic nervous system, that's the fight, flight and freeze. Make sure that you've done something with those. You've loosened them up. You've looked them in the face. You've called them by their name. You've written them down. You've given them to your friend Kathy in Wales. You've stomped them out before you come down to your horse. And there is a last thing which is really important, and which I discovered through trial and error, is that I used to think you could dump your negative emotions at the gate in a big old heavy suitcase so that they wouldn't bother the horses. And then I'd always go back to the gate and pick them up and take them back. So I always said, I can be great in the field, but I'm hopeless when I get back to the house. And I realised that that was going about things definitely in a non-helpful way. Because what I was doing was, wasn't I, Flo? Is I was getting a lack of congruence. Congruence is where your outside affect, which is the persona, the face that you show to the world, is a long way from your inside reality. And everybody has a little bit of a gap there because we live in societies and there's a social contract, and we don't run around metaphorically frightening the horses. So we all put on a little bit of a polite front, and that's absolutely fine. But it's when your outer aspect, look at me, I'm on Instagram, I'm fabulous, is miles away from your inner truth, which is, I feel like my life is falling apart. That's when you get into trouble. Horses in particular hate that. So the leaving the emotions at the gate didn't work, because essentially I was coming down going, I'm fine, when I really wasn't. And she in particular would pick up on that, like, oof, there was thunder in the air. So what I'll do now is, if I haven't had time to process an emotion, my friend Kathy is busy, for whatever reason you're all right, we're nearly finished, I didn't feel up to stomping, I would just say to her, sorry, I'm having a really shitty day today and you're not getting your best human. And she's completely fine with that, because what she can deal with is a human who's a little bit bent out of shape. Oh, you having a scratch? What she can't deal with is a phony. Horses hate phonies because it makes them think of, my favourite story, which is completely apocryphal and but feels as real to me as if I've seen it on a movie. And that's the lioness who's coming down to the waterhole pretending she's already had her lunch. Just going down to the water. And then, as the horses are lulled into a sense of, unfortunately, false security, she pounces. That's why they don't like phoniness. That's why the people that you see getting on really well with horses tend to be authentic people. People who just are themselves. So that was a very long answer to a very short question. I think the question was, how do you do that? How do I reset myself? How do I deal with emotions which are... Oh, Flo. That was poor Flo, I just bumped into her. Oh, Doodle, you're right. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just bump into you? Yes. I can't remember where I was now, but anyway, dealing with those emotions which just aren't any help. Resetting yourself. And she's off. Oh my good boys, look at this. Resetting yourself so that you can bring, I think of it as equilibrium to the field, as balance. Don't bring your crap, in other words. And if you have to bring your crap, just say, I'm really sorry, I've got the crap. And I'll deal with it later, and you're not getting my best self. And they will absolutely forgive you, particularly if they've been with you for a while, because they know you well and they know that you come in peace. And I hope that's explained it. Look at our sweet girls. Yes. Very dreamy and dozy down here. And I must go because my poor boys really have been very patient. And there we are, and there's the lovely blue sky, and there's the big breath, and there's a way to start a week.